Hey everybody, I'm Josh Poduska. I'm the Chief Data Scientist at Domino Data Lab, and I'm very pleased to be moderating this session today. And Domino is pleased to be hosting this session. Before we introduce our speakers, I'd like to briefly introduce you to Domino and tell you what we're all about. Organizations today have a wonderful opportunity in front of them to take their teams, their companies, into the next era, the modern future of data science work. But there are many challenges to get there. And it's time, we believe at Domino, for the C-level suite, chief data officers, chief information officers, and such to take charge in implementing best practices, to take charge in consolidating technology platforms, to allow your teams to reach their highest potential, and to allow the business to really start to realize the results and the promises that we all hear about ML and AI. And Domino's built a data science platform to help make that a reality. It's trusted by more than 20% of the Fortune 100 to centralize data science work and to centralize and govern infrastructure across the enterprise. It allows for collaboration. It allows for quick deploying and easy management of models. With Domino, data scientists are more effective. They innovate faster. Teams can collaborate together and research together. And IT can manage this entire data science sprawl. If you've ever tried to do this, to implement data science at scale, to scale it across the enterprise, you know it's hard. Friction points often come up. Three of them that we see quite often at Domino are infrastructure friction, DevOps needs around packages, tools, data connections, IT and data science having a little bit of conflict, always going back and forth in this infrastructure phase. Lack of knowledge management, the inability for data science to recreate and to reproduce past research. The inability of data science leaders to truly manage a portfolio of data science projects and to know what value is coming from each of these assets and projects that are underway. And the last mile problem of getting data science work, data products into production. Domino is helping to solve these friction points, solve these problems for our customers by consolidating all the work into a single data science platform. And in this platform, we know that data scientists are not our only customers. It was built for data scientists, but also for data science leaders and for IT. For the data scientists, they get self-service access to infrastructure, whether that is CPUs, GPUs, clusters, any open source technology that they like R and Python and different IDEs, Jupyter, RStudio, VS Code, even proprietary IDEs that your company might own like SAS and MATLAB. For data science leaders, they get access to metadata reports and dashboards that help them see the big picture of what's going on in data science in their organization, who's working on what assets are in production, where are projects at in their life cycle, who's collaborating, how can we foster that collaboration, how can we help with more reproducibility. And for IT, it's reducing the need and the footprint needed to maintain a modern, secure data science platform. It eases the burden on IT, allows them to govern and bless certain actions that then data science can then do for themselves. And how does Domino do this? The Domino platform basically consists of four main areas. The first being the workbench. This is where data scientists go to do their R&D and their experimentation. Next is model ops. This is where we deliver on that last mile, getting models into production so they can create that business value. Underpinning all this is an enterprise hardened infrastructure layer where the scalable work and the managing of resources happens. And at the top of all this, kind of overseeing it all, is a knowledge center, a place where data scientists can collaborate, can search, can reproduce work, can share environments, can share code, can share projects, and can really start to treat their teams like a research group. And I mentioned it before, but I'll say it again because it's so important. The Domino platform and any data science platform has to be open. And by open, I mean you have to have access to data sources. You have to have access to different languages, to the tools and IDEs that data scientists like, to the packages and what's going to be coming that's new and latest and greatest. They need access to Spark on clusters, but they also need Dask and Ray and any other new compute accelerators that are going to come. And importantly, this needs to be available both on-prem and on the cloud. A data science platform can't lock you into one way of working, to one architecture. In a nutshell, Domino provides a system of record for data science work. So as you can see, helping organizations be successful with their data science initiatives is what Domino is all about. And that's why we're excited to be hosting this session today. So let's jump into it. Thank you for joining our session today, everyone. Our topic is leading your team to AI excellence. We're looking forward to an engaging conversation where you'll hear a couple of different perspectives on the topic of growing and managing a data science function with Glenn Hoffman, Chief Analytics Officer at New York Life, and Chetan Karakas, Global Head of Quantitative and Analytical Solutions at BP. My name is Josh Poduska, and I'm the Chief Data Scientist at Domino Data Lab, and I'm really excited to be moderating this fireside chat today. Without further ado, let's jump in and introduce Glenn and Chetan. Thank you both for joining us today, gentlemen. Glenn, maybe we could start with you. And would each of you please briefly introduce yourselves and your roles?
Sure. I'm Glenn Hoffman, and I run the data science function, the corporate data science function at New York Life. I've been there about 5 years.
Hi, Chetan Karakush. I run the Quantitative Analytics Solutions, a group of software engineering teams developing quantitative and analytical applications and systems. So I've been with BP almost 10 years.
Great, wonderful. Thank you both. Well, so for our first question, Glenn, let me pose this one to you. So you represent, as I understand it, a C-level executive with a history of building and leading data science and analytical teams. I was wondering if you could describe for our audience today your approach for building the team at New York Life.
Sure. Yeah, so I've been at New York Life about 5 years and have was sort of hired with the charter of building a corporate data science team there, and it was basically a new build. I started with about 6 or 7 people, and since then we've grown the team to about 45 employees, plus a few contractors. So it's been, I think the most important thing has been to build the sort of the cultural acceptance for analytics, the understanding and value of analytics, inside of the company. So we've created business partnerships with many of the business units in the company, and we've sort of launched, joint projects, joint data science projects or AI projects with the various areas. So I work for life insurance companies. The main areas be underwriting and marketing, and sales distribution, service areas like that. So that's sort of one of the pillars. So the business partnerships. Second one, I think, was infrastructure. So we've created our own environment for computing, for model development. Both data streams and computing for model development, and both sort of a Python stack and an R stack. And then more recently, we've created the infrastructure of model deployment, with the help of the Domino platform for that. So now we've got several models deployed on that, and we have I think maybe a dozen or so more solutions to deploy this year. And then the third pillar is probably the team. So we brought in a lot of data scientists, but I over my experience of building data science teams, I've sort of learned that it doesn't just take data scientists to make this work. So I do believe that data scientists should be, and data science leaders should directly communicate with the business partners that they are collaborating with. But I also believe that they need to be supported. So in addition to data scientists, we brought in a team of program managers that basically helps organize, plans and meetings and stakeholder relationships and all that. Because if left to their own devices, data scientists tend to be introverted, and they probably wouldn't leave their cubicles. I guess now they're home offices, but and then we also hired some data engineers to kind of make the data flows work. We hired some ML engineers to make the deployment work, and I have 2 community people that sort of take care of the analytics community at large at New York Life, of which I'm sort of the champion and the leader. So that's kind of the setup, and that's what we've built, and that seems to work pretty well.
That's great. Yeah, thank you for explaining that. It's quite interesting to see how that works. I know it's very helpful to our listeners to hear an example of how it's organized and the different roles and different hats that you're going to have people playing as they seek to help data science be successful in the enterprise. Chetan, if we could build upon this a little bit with a question for you. In a perfect world, I mean, so we have CIOs, we have CISOs, CISOs on this, watching this webinar, this fireside chat today. In your opinion, Chetan, where do you see data science fitting within the enterprise? And specifically, when we start to talk about IT, do you feel that should be a centralized function that rolls into IT, or should it remain separate? If you could say anything about, organizational leadership too, that might be helpful as well.
Yeah, I think certainly there are a few configurations, but the important thing, I think, so how this kind of lends out in a specific organization is usually, like organizational, due to the mostly organizational socio-politics rather than the what is great. I think the key thing is to understand the importance of technology as a enabler and scaler, and data science more like experimenter and strategizer. If you have this kind of mindset, particular combination is not that important. Having said that, there are a few kind of choreographies or configurations. Like one is IT being under data science. The good thing about that is, it will make the technological development more agile because it will be very much driven by the data science. But on the other hand, it might lead into kind of more short-term ad hoc development, which could be a problem in the mid to long term. Another arrangement is, data science being under IT. The main problem with that kind of configuration is that you might have a talent acquisition problem if IT is kind of considered as a kind of a more back office type of function. Having said that, obviously in kind of more in asset management space, for example, technology is kind of considered as a kind of part of business, so you don't see that kind of problem. But more in corporate world, this could be an issue. And also another problem with that arrangement will be you might have some kind of suboptimal business engagement, which is very important for the data science. So the third configuration will be like data science and IT on the kind of a side by side, which to me sounds like a more optimal configuration. If the technology is also, as I said, seen as a kind of a key enabler and kind of valued as such, not just like doing some kind of boring stuff, because technology in long term will make the difference between the people, the companies who really kind of taking to do this next step, but and between those and who others who couldn't.
Yeah, and I know that you have a passion for, how do I say, getting these products into production, getting data products into production, actually seeing some ROI, some value from our data products, and with that, the CIO, the CISO are going to have a key role to play. If I could ask you one more question, a follow-up question on this, Chetan, can you talk to what you see as the role that a CISO and a CIO can play in AI and ML efforts in the enterprise?
I think the main thing, as I said, like they should look into building the kind of a platform. So I might mention several times today, the key thing is like, investing to build a kind of a unified platform, which does the data sourcing, transformation, analytics, visualization, collaboration. And this will be the key enabler for and scaler for the data science team, who will and should focus more on the kind of the strategies and the kind of the business cases, and actually, like very kind of a quick turnaround of the ideas, experimentation, and putting these creating business value basically, and having the managing the business engagement. Whereas technology and by extension the CIO's function should be how you can kind of create lessons and invest into long-term technology to make the lives of obviously both data science teams and the business users a lot easier, and you invest for long term, you kind of get value out of the work. If you don't do that, it will be more kind of a ad hoc, palliative. It might short term, it might look, you're going in the right direction, but mid to long term, you're going to end up a huge kind of a kind of a mess these days, euphemistically called technical debt. So CIO's role should be having that kind of long-term vision and perspective of where you want to go and how things should be done in kind of best practices.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing those insights. It's no small task to provide a platform for data scientists that they're going to be happy and have the openness that they need to use the tools and technologies that they want, while at the same time having security and all of the scale of compute and resources that are well governed that IT rightly needs. So yeah, a big role for CIOs and CISOs to play. Regardless of where data science is going to formally fit or the role of how it rolls up into the C-level suite, I think we can all agree that streamlining communication and collaboration between data science and IT is going to be really critical to success in any of these endeavors. I'd like to get both your thoughts on this one. Glenn, maybe I can start with you. Can you share an example of when you've seen communication lacking, or perhaps some process bottlenecks between IT and data science, and any tips on how to overcome those?
Yeah, I mean, that can definitely happen. I think, like you said, regardless of the org structure. I mean, definitely if analytics either reports into tech or sort of direct peers, it helps a bit, with the communication. But that is quite important. So I think especially since the analytics or the data science areas tend to be a little more nimble in sort of the technology that they need, on an ongoing basis, which challenges technology a lot, because they tend to be a little more long-term focused. So that has becomes an issue every once in a while. I mean, when we try to bring in some new libraries or a new platform or a new piece of software, or we want to test something out that has appeared on the market but may not be entirely secure, that is challenging for the tech organization to handle, because we might be working with some startup company that has a piece of software that we want to test, but that company may not have the resources to respond to the security requirements of a large tech organization and a large company. So that I think that's where things get challenging. I think good communication helps. I mean, explaining to the relevant technology folks, why we need it and why is it important for the business, and how does that move us forward from a tech stack perspective overall. There's a lot of sort of evangelizing and communication that needs to happen. And technically, mostly, most of the motivated, tech folks, they want to innovate too. They want to, play with the new stuff and the new toys. And so between sort of communicating the importance and appealing to the intrinsic drive for innovation within the tech organization, things tend to move, forward eventually.
Yeah. That's a great insight. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Chetan, anything to add on this topic? Where have you seen lack of communication and maybe best practices for overcoming that between data science and IT?
Yeah, Glenn made a few good points. I think for the communication to be successful, you need to have a kind of like a platform to communicate over, or have a kind of speak the same language. So that kind of brings me again to having a unified platform. So if you're building and contributing to the same tech platform, then the communication become much more easier. Like, for example, if you want to add a new feature, you just go and implement that, and IT will understand what's happening. But if you don't have a kind of a common platform, and you go with a kind of a more kind of ad hoc manner, then every new change or small project or task becomes a big communication challenge. So you need to kind of standardize the language and tooling and programming language. For example, we kind of adopt, for example, use Python in our company. That kind of helps a lot. And we kind of even standardize the version of the libraries we are using, and third-party libraries, etc. You you need to kind of reduce the number of moving parts. If you kind of make it kind of free for all, then obviously communication become a big problem. So I will say that the first, try to kind of make standardize without actually kind of hamstringing the agility and flexibility and innovation. It can be done if you put some thinking into how you structure your systems. That kind of solves the most of the problem, and the rest is, as I said, having kind of a mutual respect or seeing the technology and the data science on a kind of a equal level. So not sometimes I come across this thing where like the data science team seeing the technology kind of a more like, oh yeah, they're doing the kind of the boring stuff, or those kind of things should be definitely kind of rooted out. So if you kind of the both teams kind of respect each other and have the competence, then that kind of also helps with resolving any other problem which hasn't been addressed, not by using the common platform.
Yeah, thank you for that. You both of you have mentioned the importance of a common platform, the importance of a technology stack that's going to meet the needs of your organization. We have just a few minutes left here. Let's dive into that a bit. Glenn, let me start with you. So as I mentioned, data scientists often use a variety of tools and languages to get their work done. What are you doing, and what have you seen work for making it easier for them to bounce ideas off of each other, repurpose past work? Do you have a central place for knowledge management? If you could speak to some of your platform goals and platform work, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think to that sort of collaboration element, there's certainly a platform component to that, and then there's a cultural component to that. I mean, let me say a few words about each, right? So that the cultural component is, I mean, we have something we call the data science community at New York Life and I have two people on my team that manage that community, and in that we have. Well, we offer data science training. We have something called the Data Science Academy. We offer data science training to anybody at the company who has an interest in data science. So that includes, actuaries. It might include people from technology, from legal, from whoever, right? So it opens up an avenue for people to learn more about data science. And when you think about communicating, whether that's with tech or with the business, if both people understand a little bit about the other person's language, that helps tremendously with communication. So I think the education program we have about data science is very helpful. And then we have a lot of community events. So we have people presenting on data science solutions, data science projects, data science technology all the time. Like and nearly every week we have like a data science week. I think it's in 2 weeks coming up, where we have a whole week of that stuff. So that's all the community aspect, so that everybody understands the work, knows why it's important, and that permeates into various organizations in the company, including technology. So that's that. So on the platform side, I think when I compare what we do now with what we used to do, it's tremendous progress, right? So I mean, we used to program in R and Python, and then we had no tech platform that understood R and Python. So we had to translate that to C or Java before we could deploy it, right? And if you ever translated one person's code from one language into somebody else's code in a different language, not only does it take a while to translate, but the QA to get all the errors sorted out, can take 2 or 3 months, right? And that is terrible. Now, I mean, there's help from the Domino platform and the Kubernetes cluster underlying it. We have eliminated that problem, so we can now take the Python code and promote it to production. Now, there's still non-trivial issues with that, because the code that data scientists write, in Python is probably not production ready, to take in everything that production can hit with. So there is still a component of hardening that code, making it production ready, and that is a collaboration between the technology folks who are ultimately responsible for maintaining that code and the data scientists that built it. But they're both working on the same code base, and they can learn from each other quite a lot. So I think that has been tremendously helpful.
That's great. Yeah. Great information on the community, great information on the platform and the need for collaboration within a, a modern platform Kubernetes space. That's really helpful information. Chetan, how about you? The same question. How do we get data scientists the tools they need, the languages they need? How do we make it easier for them to do their work? And any thoughts on a centralized knowledge management platform or anything along a platform angle?
Yeah, I'll second all those points, and I'll just add a little bit more detail. So we talk about the importance of platform. So if you kind of zoom into that, in there, you need to have central repositories. So that will be like data repositories, right, where you're storing your data, like the learning, parameterization, etc. There'll be model repositories, like the models you build for your data science predictions and forecasting, etc. And there will be like a code libraries, right? The software artifacts you're using. So you kind of put them into kind of central repositories as well. So all of these and common libraries and all of these kind of centralize the knowledge, keep the IP in the company, and it helps to kind of the basically bring some engineering discipline into the whole development of the data science technology. The second thing I will say is considering collaboration as a feature, right? So you need to build your platform around the collaboration. So that means, for example, you share data, reports, dashboards, analyzes. So everything in the system or platform should be kind of, have this collaboration as a kind of modules. For example, when I design a system, I put nowadays I put the collaboration as a part of one of the modules, right? Just like sourcing data or transforming data. You build features around making collaboration so seamless. And that takes me to the third thing, is creating some sort of a research-oriented environment. I think that the data science perfectly fits into that. So it means like you publish your work, or whether it's a report or analysis, there's should be some sort of a credit attribution, like where you give credit to the people, because with data science, it won't be just like the data scientists or technologists. In fact, some of the, they talk about this concept of the citizen data science. You need to get the business users and other users in the company to get involved in the process, so everyone can contribute actually to making data better or model improved. So you do that, you do some sort of a credit attribution or something like a sales credit, if you like. Yes. And then you introduce this experimentation as a kind of a part of the platform. So everything should be designed to make things to experiment new data sets, experiment with new reports, experiment with the new models. So if you do that, then everything else becomes so kind of smooth.
Yeah, wonderful insights. I also think that bringing engineering best practices, engineering rigor to data science is part of this next phase that we're seeing in the evolution of data science as an industry. And collaboration definitely has to be a component of that. And then data science is different though than engineering. So it does need that research component, that flexibility to try and fail and learn from your failures and continue to improve. So great insights from you there, Chetan. Great insights as well. Glenn, thank you both so much for joining us. We are out of time today, unfortunately. I think we could keep talking about this for a while, but really appreciate your thoughts on growing and managing data science functions and helping to scale, because again, I think scaling data science is really going to be key to this next decade. The winners and the losers are going to be separated by who can scale the best. So thank you for your insights today. And thank you to all of those who attended, and we wish you well and have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.